Should you be consuming a mass gainer supplement? But first of all, we're going to answer the question, how do mass gainers even work? Well, if you've ever looked at the ingredients list on a mass gainer shake, you'll see that generally it's trying to mimic what you would get from a normal meal. And actually, it's not too dissimilar to what they give people in hospital, particularly quite frail people who are in hospital for a long time. When they struggle to get food down, they'll give them nutrition shakes or high calorie shakes that are basically trying to give a lot of calories and nutrition in something that is easy to digest and get down. And if you look at the nutrition label of a mass gainer, say this one, Optimum Nutrition Serious Mass, one of my personal favorites, that is essentially what you see. The majority of the supplement in terms of the volume of the actual powder is made up of carbohydrates mostly, but you've also got things like whey protein, and then they'll typically add in vitamins and minerals to that as well. So what they're trying to do is essentially mimic a meal. It's basically a meal replacement. What's happening when you consume a mass gainer is if you've already supplied your body with enough energy to function adequately for that day, adding a mass gainer on top of that is essentially going to give your body excess energy that it doesn't need. But if you're trying to gain weight, this is actually a good thing because your body will end up storing a lot of that energy as additional tissue. And that's where weight training comes in, because if you're weight training, some of that tissue is going to be muscle and some of it will inevitably be fat. So you're getting this high concentration of calories. That's essentially how a mass gainer works. It's giving you a surplus of energy that you wouldn't normally be getting through your daily diet. There are also some other mechanisms that mass gainers might help us. They usually have quite a high amount of protein in. So if you're already not getting enough protein, adding a mass gainer into your diet is going to help promote muscle protein synthesis and the growth of new muscle tissue because of those extra calories and the extra protein. So how do you decide whether or not you should buy a mass gainer? And there are two questions you need to ask yourself. Number one, am I gaining weight? If the answer to that is yes, you don't need a mass gainer, obviously. If the answer to that is no, then you ask yourself a second question, and that is, am I eating as much food from my diet as I physically can? Am I going to bed feeling slightly sick because I've stuffed my face full of food and I've maximized my calories for that day? Or would eating more food be very inconvenient for you? So maybe you've got a very busy job and actually there is no physical way that you can get more food into your diet during the day because you're just that busy. Or maybe you're at school and you know that you need to eat 6,000 calories to gain weight, which might surprise you, but it is the case for some skinny teenagers who are very active and have an extremely high metabolic rate. Then congratulations, you tick the box for justifying a mass gainer. But there is an extra caveat to this, and that is that when you get your mass gainer, you take it home, you open it out the box, you're excited to try your first scoop, you mustn't use it to replace when you would normally have a snack or a meal. In fact, if you do that, it probably won't work for you. It won't help you gain any weight. You need to use it when eating food isn't an option because you feel so full, but you could probably get some liquid down you. And that is when it's going to help you gain weight. When you're adding it on top of your normal diet, when you replace it with something you're already having, it won't work for you. So finally, you've decided you're the right sort of person who needs to buy a mass gainer. What do you look for when you're buying one? What I would say is look for reputable brands. So we're talking brands like MyProtein, Optimum Nutrition, Bulk. These brands that have been around for quite a long time and have quite a good reputation. I would, however, also look out for the amount of calories per scoop and be really careful about the serving sizes. I've seen many mass gainer supplements where one scoop of that mass gainer has a pretty comparable amount of calories to the same size scoop of just protein powder. My next bit of advice is don't worry about the protein content of your mass gainers, when in reality you're not consuming a mass gainer for the protein, you're consuming it for the calories. So there's no need to trawl through the ingredient list and pick out the macronutrients. So if one serving of your mass gainer has about 20 grams of protein only, then that's absolutely fine. You should still consider buying it. So that's it. I hope you found that useful. It's a bit of a guide to mass gainers, and if you want to learn a bit more about the amount of calories that you might need to build muscle, check out one of my previous videos on dirty bulking. We look at the research behind the calorie surplus and what size calorie surplus is optimal for building muscle. Thanks for watching and hit subscribe.